A lot of our success as gym owners is how effective we are as leaders and managers in getting great performances out of our team. And it's not too hard to understand the theory here, right? We need to have very high standards, and we need to instill a real drive and belief in our team to reach those very high standards. But I find a lot of the magic is truly in just having the right words, the right phrases. So today we're gonna cover 3 of my favorite leadership phrases that will allow you to lubricate the path to greatness. My name is Mark Fisher from Business for Unicorns, and if you like today's video and you haven't checked out my book, you can click the link below and Amazon will send it right to your doorstep ASAP. I think if you like this type of content, you will enjoy my collection of fitness business musings of real life stories and shenanigans from running Mark Fisher Fitness over the years. I think you're gonna find it to be a lot of actionable stuff. And speaking of actionable stuff, let's talk about 3 of my favorite phrases. So ultimately, I think you need to find the perhaps version of these verbiages, if I can use that word, that work for you, because it want to be your words, want to feel authentic to you. But here are 3 phrases I tend to use a lot. So if I'm going to have a difficult conversation with someone, I have found great value in using the Crucial Conversations Framework, which is a great book. Highly recommend it if you've not seen it yet. And there are a lot of things in it I find to be valuable, such as starting with a shared mutual purpose. Here's the things I know we both want, identifying behaviors. But one of the most useful strategies I found in these conversations is naming the thing that I'm afraid of, right? And that sounds kind of weird, but think about it. I want to name the thing that I'm afraid of, because oftentimes when we have conversations with people on our team, one of the things we're bringing into it is we have a fear that like, but what if they're going to think this, or what if they're going to react this way, or da-da-da-da. So when I'm having this kind of slightly more intense disciplinary-ish conversation, I'm often going to say something like, the last thing I want is do. So I think there's real power in naming what you're afraid of, what your concern is, because then you can kind of get out in front. And in the event that that is happening, you've made it clear to this person, okay, well, that's at least not my intention. That's not what I want to have happen. Now, that's not to say, unfortunately, that you are not going to have the impact that you don't want to have, because sometimes you do. That was like a triple negative. What the hell did that mean? Now, you might, unfortunately, still have the impact you are looking to avoid, but I think by naming it and making it clear that's not what you want, at least you're surfacing it, right? Because I think another way of looking at our job as the leader is we are surfacing the unsaid things. In any meeting, there are things that are not being said. Now, you're not gonna unearth all of these 100% of the time, but by giving name to the things that people aren't saying, the easier it is for you actually to look at the thing, have a conversation around it, and deal with it. Another phrase that I love has to do specifically with the topic of getting feedback. So as a leader, I think it's very important to ask for feedback. And if you are asking for feedback for your team, that is fantastic. That is a great start. But you must remember, people are going to be nervous to speak truth to power. They're often not going to feel comfortable, particularly if they have critical feedback for you. And I think the way in which we ask this question is very important, because I think if you frame it up as, I'm looking for feedback, right? You're almost saying like, and sometimes you'll hear even leaders say this, because if you're the type of person, you're like,
I can take feedback, I'm a real, give me some criticisms, don't be afraid to be hard on me.
I've even heard people ask for, I really want criticisms. So I don't know that that's actually the best way to frame that up. Instead, I suggest you use this phrase. What is one way I could be more effective as your leader? Understand what you're doing there is you're still asking for feedback, but you're framing it up in a way that is inviting them to be directed about what they want, instead of maybe focusing on what they don't want. One other pro tip within the pro tip is, if you were gonna ask this, let's say in the context of something like a quarterly review, let people know in advance and then tell them, my expectation is you'll bring me something. Think about this and bring me something. Because I find if you ask people this on the fly, particularly if you're doing a pretty good job, they might not have anything. Whereas if you give them some advance notice and give them time to think about it, they might, if they really put their thinking cap on, think of something they haven't even thought of that's going to allow you to be more effective for them and support them better as their leader. And then everybody wins. My last phrase is this might be my favorite phrase, and I say this a lot, which is, great. And because it's my job to say things literally over and over, and that's the phrase, that's what I use, right? And I say this because here's the thing, part of your role as the leader, the gym owner, is chief reminding officer. You need to say things over and over and over. And I think part of what is valuable about this is twofold. First of all, in the event you have a very fast learner that gets things quickly, they're going to be not triggered or annoyed because you're saying, hey, it's actually my job to check on things over and over. I must inspect what I expect. I think there's also benefit for you as the leader, because one of the places where I see people trip themselves up is they know the things that they need to say. They know what the standards and expectations are, and they're afraid of being redundant. So I think this particular phrase is not only good for your team to understand and have the expectation that it's my job to say the things over and over and always be checking in on the things, but also for you as a leader to not worry about being annoying and redundant, because you're saying to them, because it is my job to literally say things over and over, fill in the blank of whatever it is you want to emphasize. You hear people need to hear things 7 times before it sinks in. I don't know. I don't really know if there's real science behind that, but I gotta say, it sounds directionally correct in my experience. All right, friends, well, I hope you enjoyed the magic of these words. If you want to find some more insight into how I look at leadership and managing people, my absolute favorite tool is how I run my one-on-ones, and specifically the agenda document that I use. So go ahead, you can click on the link in the description box below, after you subscribe, of course, and find my video for how I run one-on-ones in my gyms. I think you're gonna find it a very useful framework. That's all today, friends. I will see you soon for another video where I'll share with you more actionable tips, psychological frameworks, and philosophy.